is now Fired Up Freedom. I just want to do a little bit of a recap of season one. It was amazing. I had so much fun, a lot of amazing guests, a lot of great conversation. It was really, really awesome. If you're someone who wants to have a growth mindset, if you're someone who wants to take action and go towards your goals, then Fired Up Freedom is great for you. It doesn't matter if your goal is financial or personal. And now that we're moving into season two, we're going to be talking a lot of different things surrounding freedom.
At your hand, you command the power should you ever choose to refrain all your pain as a better kind of truth. And I just messed around on that for a while, and I tried to write something sexy. And me, I'm not that guy. I'm not, at least not yet. I haven't figured out how to write sexy that resonates. So, and so she came to me with this idea of garbage, and I told her, yeah, that we can do garbage. Because one of the big things that's
Well, hello there, family. You're listening to Fired Up Freedom with Steve Ryan. Fired Up Freedom. All right. Do you ever have moments where you feel stress, anxiety, or it's hard to sleep? Then meditation may be the perfect thing to help you. Come and join our meditation channel where there's 24 hours a day on-demand meditation music. Go to steveryan.com/meditation. That's steveryan.com/meditation. It's time to have freedom from the noise. Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages.
All right. Welcome to Fired Up Friday. All right. We got Matt's in the house. So
Hey.
yeah, you're a guitarist, rock extraordinaire. So if somebody gave you like a little elevator pitch and say, well, who is Matt Feinstein? I might be
fine, but you put an upward inflection on there, so I'll correct you. But I don't normally,
okay.
unless people say Thane, and I get Thane a lot. So I'm like, that's when I correct people. But
Okay. Okay. Oh, like Frankenstein.
yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're like a guitarist and a rock guy, or
Yeah, that's my. If I am given my own pitch, I call myself a noisemaker. I
okay.
am a guitarist and a producer and a songwriter, a singer. I do all those things because you know how it is. Everybody wears a lot of hats these days.
Yeah.
I started out as a guitarist, but I've really branched into the octopus territory, if you will.
Right. Hands and all the different fingers and things.
It suits me though, because I'm a guy who likes to switch it up.
Right.
Freelancing suits me in that way.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but I'm also a bit of an activist, so I would say that I'm a noisemaker in that way too. I'm a bleeding disorders advocate.
Mhm. All right. And so like what are you currently doing as far as toward the bleeding disorders, like with your activism?
Well, that falls in line with what the community does. There's a
Mhm.
very we may be a sparse number, but we're fairly robust in terms of the efforts we have at the moment. I
Right.
use the platform as a musician as a way to bring awareness towards hemophilia and other bleeding disorders. But right now, we're just kind of sitting back. I guess Giving Tuesday is either just past us or around the corner. I believe it's around the corner.
Right.
And Giving Tuesday is associated with charitable contributions towards just about anything. But we are, of course, being a bleeding disorders advocate, I am focusing that towards hemophilia charities. So Giving Tuesday for me is associated with national and local hemophilia state chapters.
Oh, awesome. And like if somebody wants to get involved in something like that, where would they go as far as like being an activist?
It depends on where they live. If somebody were to ask me about where they were to contribute resources, I would immediately see where they lived. For example, I live in New Jersey, so I would
Right.
direct if somebody in New Jersey was asking me that, I'd direct them toward the New Jersey Hemophilia Association, because at the state level is where the best uh, boots on the ground type things happen. The national chapters are sort of supplemental and legislative slash other advocacy endeavor based things.
Wow, that makes sense. And what sparked your activism into hemophilia?
Well, I am a person with hemophilia, but that didn't spark it necessarily. What
Right.
did Because the way that this works is when a person is born with hemophilia, their parents are often quite scared because this is to them a new thing. This is, oh my God, we just gave birth. This is supposed to be beautiful, but now this kid has this thing and we don't know what to do. Oh my
Right.
God, this is this abstract horror. So what happens is the state chapters, in my case, the New Jersey chapter, scooped up my parents and were like, "It's all right. We can help out here. We can teach you about the disorder. We can get you connected with a treatment center, and we can make sure that your kid has the meds he needs." And what
Right.
happens from there is, it's better, but also it takes just this Herculean, this massive amount of energy to keep that going. So individuals usually, this I would say that in general, advocacy is an overwhelmingly female driven thing. And I feel like that's a thing with activism in general, that activism is often led highly by female, by women, by mothers, by spouses, by siblings, of people who are often beset themselves, or by women who just can't get enough of what they need or are having issues themselves. They're the ones that seem to have that resolve the most. So my mother became a massive advocate, and for me, I was just learning how to deal, and I couldn't
Yeah.
really deal well because it was just so much on me, and I was a super overstimulated kid. So I didn't for a while, and then I decided to try again. Like I decided to use my problem as a hook later on in my life for an album I had been doing. I'd kept it out of my stuff for a while, and I realized that promoting my music was a great way to educate people at large about what I am and what's going
Right.
on with it, especially in an era in which healthcare we've made amazing strides with healthcare, but it's still super precarious. And for a
Yeah.
long time, for 8 years of a different presidency, it seemed like that was something they were trying to pull out from under anyone who caught a break that way.
Right. Yeah.
So I saw it super important after a point, after I realized what I could do from a different perspective, rather than just being about the cause. Being an entertainer who had this linked to him made me a bit more appealing because, let's face it, man, I'm a white guy with tattoos and a guitar. How many of those are there? Like, too many. We run out of fingers and toes super quick on that one. you know, what's remarkable about that? I'm not going to say a whole lot is, that's just the little humor there. But the truth of it is, if I attach a cause to it, it becomes interesting and it becomes purposeful.
Right.
So I can be a bit more than just look at my noise.
Right. Right.
So in doing that, I was able to find a bit more purpose to my own stuff rather than just feeling like a component to other people's work.
Right. How would you say that, like, that impacted your music, your making music, if any impact?
Oh, certainly a lot. For my own projects, I had started doing my own solo work just a bit as a portfolio artist, just
Right.
somebody who did things as a showcase of what he could do or what he could offer to other people. And perhaps if somebody else wanted to take his weird songs, maybe they could. But I hadn't really injected a lot of hemophilia into that because I had thought, and I'd had people sort of influence the thought process that that was a little too specific and that it was going to
Right.
be a little too rarefied for anyone to relate to. And in a lot of cases, given my background as a sideman, a session musician to other people's work, it wasn't appropriate,
Mhm.
to kind of call attention to myself through the lens of somebody else's work was not necessarily the right thing to do. So I, using that newfound focus on my own work and the realization that I could take, the new work and
Right.
use it as an opportunity to bring awareness to a rare bleeding disorder, allowed me to start to unpack some stuff that I had really not given myself the opportunity to unpack, just stuff
Hmm.
that I had been running away from, and it sort of framed a lot of the album I'm pitching now. I have an album coming out in March that is essentially me going through uh, different artifacts of my life, sort of
Right.
unpacking different aspects of myself that, frankly, I don't know if I would have gotten around to if the lockdown didn't happen. Um,
Right.
I don't know about you, but for me, the lockdown took away just about everything I was doing.
Right.
Uh, and it made me kind of get good with myself. I had to prioritize my health because there wasn't anything else I could do.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's almost like a blessing in disguise. I hate to put it that way, but I don't know how else to put it.
No, you're,
Um, wow. So like with your music, have you come up with the album, what your album is going to be called
the
yet?
album is called Redefine.
Oh, cool.
The
Cool.
album is called that because for a minute it was I had wanted to do something that had alluded to improvement,
Hmm.
to the idea of growth. Um, and originally, I had called it refinement, because I had wanted to make a pun on my name with an FEI, but that was going to be a little too obtuse, so I made it straight up. But then I thought about it, and when you think about the refinement process, it's usually stripping things away. It's
Right.
usually slimming things down or otherwise condensing them at the expense of perhaps other things. For me, I saw redefine is a better word for what I was trying to do because it was more of like a reorganization of what was already there.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And so your previous project, Dear Anxious, I believe the name of it was.
Yeah, that
Um,
was the last single I put out.
okay. And what inspired that single? Like Dear Anxious.
Dear Anxious was the single that let me know I had this record. It is on Redefine. It is the first single I put out of that record. And it was inspired for me. A lot of things start out musically.
Right.
And so I had a friend who, my friend Samantha, she sends me work sometimes, and she sent me a song that she called a fuck song, basically.
Hmm.
Like she sent me something that was sexy, and it had
Right.
this sort of like, oh, make love to me kind of feel to it. And I
Right.
thought about it, I'm like, I want to write something sexy. And so I just sort of sat there after hearing her thing, and I got a guitar here with me. So I just remember just sitting there, just kind of just messing around on the thing, and I just couldn't stop doing that. And that's to me how I've got like a good song. And I just messed around on that for a while, and I tried to write something sexy. And me, I'm not that guy. I'm not, at least not yet. I haven't figured out how to write sexy that resonates. So the things that were there were placeholders. They were comedic to me because they weren't gripped. And unfortunately, that's sort of who I am as a lyricist. Is that shit's got a grip, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't, then I got to keep hacking at it and hacking at it. So eventually I realized what I was at. And that song is about me realizing that I've now kind of put it out there that I'm this person who advocates, who is about hemophilia and is about trying to be a role model in his community of how to, stick out for yourself and how to not necessarily be the person that the community expects you to be, but who can still be a positive influence in there, somebody who can be um, a role model or a leader in the community. So it was this idea of being, dare to be splendid, if you will, is what I would describe that song as. And the name came from something a buddy of mine sent me about. If anything else, hilariously, it was about articles like the and
Mhm.
is and was or whatever. Um, just grammatical, how to use articles. And it started with Dear Anxious, and that just stuck with me.
Oh, wow.
Name. And then just little pieces of lyrics came to it. And it was a song that I didn't know I was capable of writing because it's this sort of breezy, very simplified piece. So it kind of let me know that I had something there. Like it let me know that what I was working on had a nucleus,
Hmm.
and otherwise I didn't know that I would have had a record necessarily.
Wow. So Dear Anxious, is that gonna also be on the album that's coming out in March, or will it just
Yes,
stay a single? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's the first single off of the record. I'm into that. So that would be track 5 of 7, and about a month ago, actually a month ago to the date, I put out a song called Borderlines,
Oh, I was
which,
gonna ask you about that one.
yeah, that's the first single on the record. So if Dear Anxious is about, how it's going, Borderlines is more about how it started.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And who would you say are some of your some influences for you musically?
I would say that the band that made me feel like I was gonna do this for my life was the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I can
They
I can
were
see that.
they were the ones who were just like, I heard that music, and when I heard that, so like 2002, 2003 is when I started playing music, and when I became influenced like that, and I remember a lot of the music out at the time was very angry and very sad and very, just like, I'm really sad and I'm really lonely, or I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, or whatever. And they were just like, I love my friends, and I found that to be very compelling. And as I went on, I went into what influenced them, like P Funk and Prince. And Prince
Hmm.
has stuck with me for a long time. He just represents everything decent and amazing about what the craft is. The guy who did it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah,
And I can't speak enough decency about Prince. From there,
right.
I guess bands like Mastodon, who just put out a record too. I'm very much appreciative of bands like those, and musicians like Paul McCartney. I try to take it from wherever.
Right. That makes sense. And then you did this your first music video.
Yes,
You did it. It was shot by Cortray Collins, I believe.
yeah, Courtney.
Courtney. Okay. And so what inspired that music video?
That was, as I've said, I've been in a place where I've been trying to make sort of artistic statements about my bleeding disorder. This
Right.
whole record, the Redefine record, is supposed to be a bit of a trail on myself of starting to deal with my issues regarding hemophilia, and to highlight them in a way that isn't necessarily typical for what my community gets. My
Right.
community is a lot about underdog stories and a lot about, beaten odds and stuff, but sometimes they'll gloss over some of the more unsavory aspects of what a person's been through to get where they are.
Yeah.
And I get that, you want to show the hopeful side of things, but a lot of times when you're a cynical person, the hopeful aspects of this stuff don't really ring out with you if you don't have context for where a person's been.
That's
It's one
true.
thing for somebody to say, I used to really be low, but it's changed. But it's another thing for you to show, yourself rolling around in your own filth, as I've been calling it, which is what that video is. That was something Courtney and I have worked together on a lot of things over the last few years. I've worked with her on other videos with friends of mine, with other projects I've been involved with. She and I are good friends, dear friends at this point, I'd say. And I went to her with the album, and I asked her what jumped out at her, and she said Borderlines. And so I told her a bit about the song and about how it was supposed to really be about rage and depression, and about ultimately self-determination, and the realization that maybe you can do a little better for yourself, or that you are the only person who can do better for yourself, is probably the better way to put it. And so she came to me with this idea of garbage, and I told her, yeah, that we can do garbage. Because one of the big things that's important for me to talk about in that video is the garbage itself. Because there's a lot of garbage in that video,
Right.
and it's all that's all my garbage. It's all locally sourced garbage, and a lot of it is medical waste. Because in our community, that's what it is. It's kind of like when you use a medical product, a sterile medical product. For every one of those you're using, you're creating like three pieces of trash. It's wrappers and the thing itself.
Mhm.
So a lot of that was me just saving up my medical waste for a few months to throw out there, but also just the mailers from all the different communities you're in. So it was important to create this real image of neglect and
Mhm.
of avoidance, and sort of just being checked out, and to demonstrate just a complete shit fit, a complete temper tantrum, and
Wow.
just destroy the world around me because I've been there. I've been somebody who just bottles his frustration to the point where it just spills all over. And so we created this montage of just doing things to avoid doing things. And I see it up here in front of me now with the sandwiches and the medical bills and stuff. Again, it was just kind of, in a way, it was where I was at during the beginning of the lockdown when I was in a sort of a place of neglect myself.
Right.
And so to be able to put that into a place of visual accuracy was important.
That makes sense. Wow. And and seeing the video, I mean, this did you just fill it out as you were making it, or did
We
you?
had a timeline, like we had a treatment done.
Mhm.
We met up, we talked about different visual aspects because there were three Maxes in this video. There's the Max who's breaking shit. There's the Max who's singing in this sort of abstract. We called it a color world.
Right.
And then there's the Max who's lying down in the garbage. And it's kind of a mixture, almost like a time skip, if you will. Like I view that Color World Max as sort of the guy who's trying to break free and trying to break what's being repressed in him out. And the Max lying in the garbage is sort of dissociated everything he's just done. So the idea of that was to show positivity within reason and to show that a lot of really ugly things tend to happen before anything good happens.
Wow, that makes sense. I mean, it's a very, very interesting video. Like, very interesting video.
It was
Wow.
it was a toughie, it was a lot of. I've been saying that it was really kind of gooey, and not just
Mhm.
because of like the sandwiches, but like there's a lot of myself and my worst aspects are only marginally exaggerated.
Right.
So to be that person who lives with themselves after their anger's gotten the better with them, I
Mhm.
know I'm not the only one, and that's the kind of
Yeah.
a lot of people don't, they'll use anger as sort of a dramatic thing, but then the anger sort of falls to the wayside. Like I think about R. Kelly when I think about that,
Mhm.
because like a lot of R. Kelly videos show him being a very dramatic human. I don't know. I have a weird fixation with Trapped in the Closet, where
Right.
like you've got dudes pulling out handguns every left and right, and nobody stops and talks about it. You know, like that. It's like they'll be in standoffs, and then some weird dramatic soap opera thing happens, and nobody goes back to be like, "You just pulled a fucking gun on me." Like it
Right.
needed to be that you're sitting in your own garbage because that's oftentimes how it is. It's like, no, you got to live with what you've done.
Wow. That's very impactful. Those the visuals and everything. That's very, very impactful. And so, like on your musical journey, do you have any kind of like goals or any particular aspirations with your musical journey?
I aspire to be able to. I've done a lot so far. I've gotten to travel the country. I've gotten to speak to a lot of different people, and my goal is to continue doing that, to continue to travel, to continue to educate, because oftentimes what I've done as an educator on bleeding disorders starts in a bar with somebody who's on Long Island iced tea number 4,
Yeah.
and you need to be able to break that down to them and have it be something that'll stick with them. So to be able to continue to make music and to have people resonate with this, I guess you could say I'm sort of healing when I make music. I find myself in a place where I'm able to connect with my emotions when I've got a guitar in my hand. And a lot of people seem to resonate with it when I'm playing guitar. So to be able to take that guitar across the country is my real goal.
Yeah.
It would be to continue to just take this up in levels, to be able to connect with parts of me that aren't just about my disorder.
Right.
And because what was important about this record for me was to figure out how to talk about it in a way that would connect with somebody like yourself, to be able to take
Right.
the problems I've had with my condition and relate them to like the human condition. And so we have these aspects of sadness and resentment and rage that are not unique to me by any means. You just
Right.
have my particular way of having found them. So to be able to take that and find a way to make what seemed unique to me as relatable as I could. So to be able to keep unpacking myself on my musical journey is my hope.
That makes sense. And so if someone wants to be in touch, you're you have a website,
Mhm.
which is your name. And is this the best way to come and sign up to your email list and just
Yeah,
be in touch?
the email list is for sure the way to do it. I have an Instagram under the name Blood and Sound, which you can also find um, on my website. That's a good way to reach me too. And I love talking to people about just about anything. I love getting to know people. That's been really one of the most rewarding parts of doing what I do is that you can just talk to people and get to know little bits about themselves.
Right. And on your website is showing that you're an inventor of Mod Stand by Metal Dozier.
Yes,
Um, okay. How did how did that idea come about? Like, what inspired you to invent that?
personal need. So as a guitar player, are you a guitarist yourself? Do you play?
I play a little bit, but I'm more of a piano guy.
Ah, so
Yeah.
guitar players, we have those pedal boards, those magical little squares that have all those boxes that are real expensive on them.
Right.
And so, when you get a big one of those, it takes up your stage footprint.
Mhm.
And when I had been designing this, there really wasn't a whole lot to offer in terms of condensing a stage footprint. You basically had your mic stand independently and your pedal board, and you were just kind of forced to stretch your body out in uncomfortable ways. And I'm a little guy, so that meant I didn't have a lot of legs to stretch with to sing and to tap dance on the board at once. So I just started messing around with like drilling into boards and screwing things down, and that got me far enough to prove
Mhm.
concept. And then I went to Metal Dozer, Jason Dozer, who is just an A-list metal worker. He's done stuff for Tony Braxton. He's done stuff for Prince. He's made mic stands for so many people.
Wow.
And I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, I've got this idea. Do you think you could do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, let's do it." So originally it was just for me, and people started seeing the merit in it. So I started going after the patent for it, and we decided to put it up on his store because I didn't want to do any manufacturing myself. I just wanted to work with the guy who had the means. So this is a product we offer straight up through the Metal Dozer website that I'm privileged to say came out of my mind and out of our hearts.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. Wow. So is there any last minute words before we wrap up that you want to share with the audience?
I would say that if there's anything on your mind, anybody's got any kind of darkness on their mind right now, and I say that as somebody who just did a lot of it myself,
Right.
just sit down and write. Grab a piece of paper and just write all of that out. Just get it out. I don't care if you journal regularly as it is, because I do regularly journal, and sometimes I will just be like, no, I don't want to journal this. No, journal it. Write it
Yeah.
down. You'll feel better. I promise.
Yeah. Getting it out and not suppressing it in. Like that's
Exactly.
Yeah, you've been very, very inspirational, man. Like seriously, I mean, from being an activist to taking things that is a problem and finding a way to get through that. I mean, that's very inspirational in my book, at least, and I'm sure a lot of people's books. So so hats off, man, for you just continuing to do your music and to continue putting it out there. I knew it was some Prince and stuff in there, like because I've heard your music before we met, and I was like, yeah, it's some Prince, it's some psychedelic, and then I can see why there's some Incubus, Red Hot Chili Pepper kind
Oh
of
yeah.
influences too. Yeah.
I mean, it's there's a lot of goodness that comes out of those 3 bands, out of those 3
Yeah.
and, out of Prince. There's so much goodness, and actually before I was on here, I make a point. Do you have a favorite Prince record?
That's a tough one.
Right?
That's a tough one because it's always gonna, like, you can like the whole thing, but it's always gonna be that one or two from each one that really get you.
Yeah, and sometimes it's one record that grabs you over the others. Like, for
Yeah.
me, the first real intro to Prince I had was Dirty Mind,
Mhm.
and then I found the record before that, his self-titled, which
Yeah.
is that one for me is just that's not fair. That record's just not fair. He's like 22, he's shredding, he's doing ballads with all these sophisticated things going on, and it's all him.
Yeah. Yeah. That one was a good record. I forget, 'cause they have quite a bit. Was Sign of the Times on that one?
Nah, I think isn't Sign of the Times its own record? Or is that off Controversy?
Um,
I forget myself.
oh, no, no, I think that's off Controversy because it's so many.
Yeah, that's the one with "I
Yeah.
Wanna Be Your Lover" on it.
Uh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Never mind. That one he was under the label.
Yeah, he was still under the label.
Yeah.
That was the one that also I think Bambi was on that one, and, my favorite 2 off that are "Why You Wanna Treat Me So Bad" and "When We're Dancing Close and Slow."
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's just especially "When We're Dancing," that to me is just like I lose myself in that one.
Right. I feel you.
Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages. Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources.
All right, we're back, and Matt's is gonna bless us with a awesome song.
Yeah, I figured I'd play you brought up "Dear Anxious" at the head, I think I'll play "Dear Anxious" for you. At your hand, you command the power should you ever choose to refrain all your pain as a better kind of truth. Get a clue, a tattoo, a lesson learned, and there's the proof. Self-aware, now you care, you're on the hook, so follow through. Put your pride to the side and you might find the fortitude to defy prying eyes. It's no surprise they're trained on you. Understand how to stand a Leo sun and Virgo moon. Set the mood, name the tune, and lead the way. They'll follow you. And they'll follow you. Don't deny what you have found. Build your kingdom tall upon the blood and sound. Come around to the sound, to calling home abound. Come around and fall before you hit the ground. Come to learn with eyes anew. Come around to astound, now spread your wings and drop the tune. It goes further than you know. Share your world, they're anxious, share and watch it grow. 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 Lead the way, they'll follow.
All right. Woohoo!
Thank you.
That was pretty cool. I mean, it sounded like radio.
Appreciate
Like it
that.
was pretty good. Yeah, it was really good. Like you have a good live presence. So I'm sure the fans are just waiting. Like, come on, get Tim back out here so he can. Yeah, that was cool. I like that. You make
It's
me want
fun.
to get the guitar, get going.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Wow. So well, we'll be right back after this commercial break. Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages. Do you ever have moments where you feel stress, anxiety, or it's hard to sleep? Then meditation may be the perfect thing to help you. Come and join our meditation channel where there's 24 hours a day on-demand meditation music. Go to steveryan.com/meditation. That's steveryan.com/meditation. It's time to have freedom from the noise. Well, it's been great having you on, man, and going through your site and seeing the video. And like, people need to go to your website, check it out, and really just get in your community. Sign up to your email. Like, I'm sure you're gonna be able to say, I'm coming to a city near you eventually. So
I'm hoping so. I mean, we just had that new variant start to rear its head. Was it the Omicron or something? I'm really hoping we can get that under control before we end up in another weird place where people are not feeling cozy about going out.
yeah, that's will it ever end? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. We were hoping, and we've
yeah.
tried to act like some things are done, but I don't know where this leaves us.
Yeah, who knows? But I guess we'll take a page out of your book and keep moving forward.
We'll do
So
our best. I know we'll all do our best.
yeah, you might come up with another invention, in the meantime until you get out there. So
Oh boy, we'll see.
well, this wraps it up for Fired Up Friday with Max. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Running from myself at times I can't describe the words I try, the fear